Bismillah ar-Rahman ar-Rahim. Last time I spoke to you, I spoke to you on the subject of, often we can learn Islamic values from non-Muslims. So I'd like to develop that theme a little bit more and say today that often it's principles of Islam are often much better practiced by non-Muslims nowadays than they are by Muslims. So I'd like to give you an example of that from the field of governance. I remember once I was working in a Muslim country with a non-Muslim. He was a colleague of mine, a work colleague of mine, and he was discussing the situation in the country in which we were working. And he said, you know, John, the system that the thing that really upsets me here is the lack of a system of redress. When somebody is being treated unjustly, somebody has been treated cruelly, there's no way that the wrongdoing, the wrong that they have encountered can be redressed. There's no system of redress. So I often thought about that, and I must say, I think that the system of redress, going through, the papers and going through various websites and things, the system of redress is much more developed in the West, in Europe, and in the West generally, than it is in the Muslim world. You may disagree with me on that, and you're most free to air your comments. But I get the impression that the system of redress, if somebody is wronged, there is a system of redress in the West, in Europe, whereas in the Muslim world, all too often there's no system of redress. So before I get into giving you an example of that, I would like to just mention why is it an Islamic principle that there should be a system of redress. Well, there's so many sayings. You'll know the saying in Arabic, "Sayyidu qawmi khadimuhum." The leader of a nation is the servant of a nation. Many of you will be familiar with the story, the saying of Umar ibn al-Khattab, radiallahu ta'ala anhu, that he said, "Lo matat shatun ala shattil Furat," even if a sheep was to die on the banks of the river Euphrates, Zayatun, that die in a state of hunger, on the banks of the river Euphrates, lazanantu anna Allah ta'ala sa'alani anha yawm al-qiyamah. I would be absolutely convinced that Almighty Allah would ask me about this, because I am the leader I am the Caliph of Islam, I'm the leader of the Muslims, I'm the Amir al-Mu'minin, and so I'm responsible not only for human beings, but even for animals, the well-being of animals who live under my care as the Amir al-Mu'minin. So this is how strong the system of redress should be amongst Muslims. You know very well the hadith, of course, kullukum ra'in wa kullukum mas'ulun an ra'iyatihi. Every one of you is like a shepherd. وَكُلُّكُمْ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ, and everybody will be asked about their flock. Just like a shepherd is accountable for his flock, everybody is responsible for their own flock. فَالْإِمَامُ الَّذِي عَلَى النَّاسِ رَاعٌ فَالْإِمَامُ الَّذِي عَلَى النَّاسِ رَاعٍ هُوَ مَسْئُولٌ عَنْ رَعِيَّتِهِ. So the leader of a nation, the leader of a people, he is responsible, and he is the shepherd, and he is accountable for the state of his people. So if one's people are in poverty and are living in abject poverty, that's not acceptable, and the leader of a nation is responsible for that. And well, we've mentioned the saying of Umar ibn al-Khattab, and we've mentioned also an Arabic saying, and we've also mentioned the hadith of the Holy Prophet. So we should also mention a verse of the Holy Quran, that on the Day of Judgment, وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنبٍ قُتِلَتْ, on the Day of Judgment, a little girl who is buried underground, as used to happen before Islam came to the world, before the religion of Muhammad Mustafa sallallahu alaihi wasallam came to the world. That used to happen to girl children, that they used to be buried alive. وَإِذَا الْمَوْءُودَةُ سُئِلَتْ بِأَيِّ ذَنبٍ قُتِلَتْ, on the Day of Judgment, that young girl who has been buried alive, she'll be asked, why? For what sin were you buried alive? So this brings me very neatly to the example I wanted to give you of the system of redress. You may have heard of the case. Even if you're in Pakistan, you will have heard of this case, and if you're in Great Britain, you will have heard of this case, that a young girl, a 10-year-old girl, was left to die, or dying, or dead in her home, and then her guardians, so-called guardians, they made good their escape and left her alone, dead in her house, and her name was Sara Sharif. And the parent, the father, and the stepmother, and the uncle escaped, as they thought, to Pakistan. But of course, which is where their family was originally from. Obviously, one doesn't want to say anything and doesn't incriminate anybody, because of course this matter is now they're going to be have to face justice. Whoever, and if they're exonerated, so be it, and if they're found guilty, so be it. But obviously, suspicion has fallen on this father and stepmother and uncle of this little girl, who was left to die in her home in Great Britain. So the way the police in Britain have taken up that case, and said they're absolutely determined to find justice for Sara Sharif, and this little girl has the police have taken up her cause, and because the parents had escaped to Pakistan, then the Pakistan police also got involved in this matter, and then hunted the family down, and well, eventually they were put in such a position that they had to return and now the father and the stepmother and the uncle have returned to Britain, and they have been arrested on suspicion of the murder of this little girl, Sara Sharif. So you can tell me, if that had happened in a Muslim country, would it be so, would there be such a system of redress for that little girl? If this actual instance had happened in a Muslim country, would there be such a system of redress for that little girl? Or, was it this, the authorities in Great Britain who took up her case and made it their job and their duty to find justice for this girl? And was it because of that they were on the case that the police in Pakistan then took the case so seriously and eventually played their part in that in those accused persons having to return to Britain? I think that this is an exemplary example of this, the system of redress in European countries, often, I'm not saying always, but often being more developed than it is in Muslim countries. And you're most welcome, if you disagree on anything I say, or even if you agree, to leave your comments underneath. That's what the comment section on YouTube is for. And you know, you may have a different example, and you may have a different impression, and you may have examples of the system of redress being very developed in Muslim countries. But I've given you my own impression, and you're most welcome to give me yours. أقول قولي هذا وأستغفر الله لي ولكم ولسائر المسلمين إنه هو الغفور الرحيم.